Hey everyone, welcome back to Journals Beyond Horizons. Apologies to y'all for not posting new stories frequently. I got some things going on, but they are being sorted out. With all that said, let's get into today's story. Today we're exploring a story that begins with what many men might see as the ultimate dream. Dating a young, beautiful 20-year-old virgin, especially in a country like the Philippines. But as you'll soon discover, what starts as innocence can quickly turn into something much darker. This is David's story. A man who thought he had found pure love, untouched and genuine, only to realize that behind the shy smiles and promises of forever lay the crushing weight of family expectations, cultural pressure, and financial desperation. It's a warning for anyone who believes youthful innocence is the same as unconditional love. So before you think about chasing that fantasy abroad, sit back and listen closely, Komondan. Because what happened to David may just change the way you see relationships forever. Here is David's story. This is my story alongside the experience I had dating a 20-year-old virgin in the Philippines. I thought I had found something pure, something untouched by the chaos of bar girls, scams, and broken promises. I mean, she was just 20 years old, soft-spoken, shy, and told me she was still a virgin. In my mind, I thought, finally, a chance at real love in the Philippines. The kind I could never buy, never fake. But let me tell you now, what I learned almost destroyed me. Innocence isn't always what it looks like, and sometimes it can blind you even more than temptation. When I first came to the Philippines, I did not quickly rush into looking for just another fling. I had already lived through the nightlife, the bars, the fast money, and the fast women. I had already been burned once by falling for someone who was in it for the cash, not for me. So when I stepped off that plane this time, I told myself, I'm not here to play anymore. I want something real. I rented a small condo in Manila, away from the tourist-heavy areas. I wasn't chasing the neon lights of Makati or Angeles this time. Instead, I wanted peace, quiet, maybe even a sense of family again. That's when I met her. It didn't happen in a bar. It didn't happen through a dating app either. It was actually in the most ordinary way. I was sitting at a small cafe, drinking coffee in the middle of the afternoon when she walked in with two of her girlfriends. They were all university students. I could tell right away by their books, their uniforms, the way they giggled nervously when they ordered. She caught my eye immediately. Not because she was flashy or trying to get attention, but because she wasn't. She sat quietly, barely looking around, her long hair falling to the side of her face. When she did glance up just for a second, her eyes locked with mine. And then she quickly looked away, almost embarrassed. Something about that moment hooked me. After everything I had been through, I thought, maybe this is the kind of girl I've been looking for. Untouched by the nightlife. Still innocent. Still genuine. I don't usually walk up to strangers, but something in me that day just said, don't let this moment pass. When her friends stepped outside for a few minutes, it felt planned, but it was then I made my move. I walked over, smiled, and said, Hi. Sorry, I couldn't help but notice you looked a little bored with your books. She looked up, startled at first, then smiled nervously. No, just tired. Too much studying. Her English was clear, a little accented though, but better than most people in the Philippines. That made it easier. We talked about simple things at first. Her university, her major, what she wanted to do after school. She told me she was studying education, hoping to become a teacher someday, but it was difficult because her family didn't have much money. I told her I was from the US, that I was just living in the Philippines for a while to escape the stress back home. She nodded politely, never once dived into asking for money or favors, never once dropping hints like the girls around the Philippines normally do. That alone pulled me in deeper. Over the next couple of weeks, we started meeting more often. Sometimes at that same cafe, sometimes for walks around the city, sometimes just sitting in parks talking about life. She was quiet, almost shy, but when she did open up, she was thoughtful, sweet, and honest. There were no games, no late night texts asking for load money, no sudden emergencies needing cash still, no pressure. For the first time in a long time, I felt like I was talking to someone real, and it all felt genuine. One night, as we were sitting under a tree in Rizal Park, I asked her straight out, "Why do you always seem so cautious with me?" She looked down, fiddling with her hands, then finally whispered, "Because I've never done this before." I laughed softly. "Never done what? Dated a foreigner?" She shook her head. Number dated? Anyone. I was stunned. She was 20 years old, beautiful, kind, smart, and she had never dated? I asked her carefully, "You mean, not even a boyfriend?" She nodded. "Never. My parents are very strict. My mother always tells me, focus on school, focus on family, no boys." And I listened. All my friends, they had boyfriends, some already living with them. But me, nothing. I'm still, she paused, lowering her voice, a virgin. The way she said it, almost embarrassed, almost apologetic, made my heart race. In my head, I thought, this is it. This is the kind of girl every man dreams of meeting, and not just in the Philippines, but every part of the world. Pure and untouched. But here's the truth. That thought alone blinded me. Because what I didn't realize was that innocence can be just as dangerous as experience. Maybe even more because being a virgin doesn't guarantee that she's the one. After her confession, something changed between us. She seemed more relaxed, maybe relieved that I didn't laugh at her or push her away. Instead, I reassured her, "That's nothing to be ashamed of. Actually, like it's rare these days. You should be proud." From that night on, we grew closer. Our study dates turned into real dates. Eating street food together, riding jeepneys, watching cheap movies at the mall. She was sweet, gentle, almost childlike in the way she giggled at small things. She'd grab my arm while crossing the street like she needed protection, and I loved that feeling of being her first real man. But looking back now, that was the first trap. I wasn't just falling for her, I was falling for the idea of her. The innocent Filipina who had never been touched, never been corrupted. A month into dating, she invited me to her home. Her family lived in a two-room house on the edge of town. Her father was quiet, her mother was warm but watchful, and their neighbors peeked curiously at me from behind the windows. Over dinner, rice, fried fish, and vegetables, her parents asked me the usual questions. Where was I from? Did I have family back home? Any children? What did I do for work? Then her mother said something that stuck with me. "She is our only daughter. We protect her. Please take care of her." It felt like a blessing, like a burden. In their eyes, I wasn't just her boyfriend. I was already being measured as a provider, maybe even a future husband. At first, I thought being with a virgin was perfect. She wasn't comparing me to anyone else. She wasn't jaded or calculating. But the more time passed, the more I realized the other side of it. She didn't know how relationships worked. She didn't know how to handle disagreements. If I didn't reply to her text right away, she'd panic and think I didn't care. If I wanted space to myself, she thought I was losing interest. And intimacy? That was a struggle of its own. She was terrified, hesitant, constantly asking if I'd still respect her after. Instead of being romantic, it became a cycle of guilt and reassurance. I had to be careful with every word, every move, as if I was holding glass that might shatter. At first, I thought it was sweet. Later, it started to feel like pressure, like dating her was a job. The more we dated, the more I noticed cracks. She began asking subtle questions. If we got married, would you bring me to America? Do you think I'd have a better life there? Would your family accept me? They seemed innocent at first. That what girl wouldn't wonder about the future? But the way she asked over and over made me realize her dreams weren't about us. They were about escape. In her mind, I wasn't just a boyfriend, I was a ticket. That's when I began to wonder, was she really innocent? or just inexperienced in love but already trained by poverty and family expectation to look for a way out. The deeper we got into the relationship, the more her innocence started showing in a different way. At first, I thought it was just love and curiosity, that clingy, youthful love where you want to be around each other all the time. But soon it became suffocating. If I didn't text her back in 5 minutes, she would call. If I said I was hanging out with other expats, she'd accuse me of meeting another girl. If I took a day just to relax by myself, she'd cry and ask, "Do you still love me? Or are you getting tired of me already?" I realized something. Her lack of experience in relationships didn't just mean she was pure. It also meant she was insecure, inexperienced, and didn't know how to trust. One night, after we had another awkward attempt at intimacy, she pulled away and said, "Maybe I should wait until marriage. My parents told me to protect myself. But I love you, I just don't want you to leave me if I'm not ready." I froze. On one hand, I respected her values. On the other hand, I was already deeply invested, emotionally and financially. I'd been paying for our dinners, her tuition, even helping her family with groceries here and there, and now she was pulling the maybe after marriage card. That's when it hit me. Being with a virgin wasn't a gift. It was leverage. She held the first time like a bargaining chip, and I, blinded by the thought of protecting her innocence, kept playing along. Her parents, too, became more involved the longer we dated. They'd casually mention how lucky she was to have me, how life in America must be so much better, how their daughter deserved a man who could provide. I can't lie, it started to feel less like dating and more like an unspoken negotiation. They never asked directly, but the message was clear. If you love her, you'll marry her. If you marry her, you'll take her to America. One evening, I bumped into an old friend from the expat community. We stopped at a bar by the street to catch up with some drinks and chatted for a few minutes, and my girlfriend happened to walk by. That night, she broke down crying, accusing me of wanting another woman. When I reassured her she admitted something, "I get scared. You're my first boyfriend. I don't know how to keep you. All I know is, if you leave me, my life is over." Those words should have moved me. Instead, they terrified me. Because I realized she wasn't really in love with me, like she was terrified of losing the opportunity I represented. Slowly, I started connecting the dots. She was 20 years old, sheltered, and inexperienced. But she wasn't naive about the world. She knew the harsh truth of poverty, the limits of her opportunities, and the golden escape route that came with being chosen by a foreigner. Her virginity wasn't just innocence, it was a sales pitch. Her insecurity wasn't just love, when it was dependency, and my mistake was confusing the two. By the 6th month of dating, the conversations about marriage started getting louder, not just from her, but from her family. Her mom would drop little comments like, "You're such a good man. My daughter is lucky." In our culture, if a man is serious, he doesn't wait too long. Her father, quieter but more intimidating, would nod in agreement. And then there was my girlfriend, looking at me with pleading eyes, half in love, half in pity. One night she finally asked, "Are you going to marry me? Or are you going to leave me like other foreigners do?" That question was something else, because on one hand, I cared for her. On the other, I could feel the weight of expectation crushing me. It wasn't just about us anymore, it was about an entire family banking their future on my decision. We also kept clashing over intimacy. She'd go back and forth between wanting to prove her love and then pulling away in tears, saying she wasn't ready. One night, after another failed attempt, she whispered, "Why do men only want sex? Why can't love be enough?" I tried to explain it wasn't about just sex. It was about closeness, connection, balance. But in her eyes, I was pressuring her. And in mine, she was dangling the promise of intimacy while withholding it until I gave her what she wanted. Marriage. That's when resentment started to creep in. The real turning point came unexpectedly. She left her phone on the table one evening when she went to shower. A message popped up from her cousin. "So, did he propose yet? You need to secure your future, don't let him slip away. Those words shattered everything. It confirmed what I had been afraid to admit. This wasn't about love. This was about leverage, strategy, survival. And I was the pawn in the middle. That night, I confronted her gently at first. Do you really love me? Or do you just see me as a way out? She burst into tears. Of course I love you. You're my first boyfriend, my first everything. But you don't understand. You're also my only chance. Do you think I can find another foreigner like you who will take me seriously? Do you think my family will ever forgive me if I let you go? And then went on to say, propose to me for assurance, then we can do anything you want us to do. Her honesty was brutal. For once, she dropped the sweet, innocent mask and admitted the truth. Her virginity, her youth, her love, all of it was tied to desperation. That's when it hit me. This wasn't a love story. It was a transaction disguised as romance. And her virginity was her edge towards me. She wasn't the manipulative bar girl playing tricks like what other expats experience. She was something else. A desperate, inexperienced 20-year-old using innocence as her bargaining chip. But desperation, when dressed as purity, can be just as dangerous. I knew right then, if I married her, my life would no longer be mine. It would belong to her, her family, and the endless obligations that came with rescuing someone from poverty. And so I made the hardest decision. I walked away. When I told her it was over, she clung to me, crying so hard it broke my heart. You promised me forever. You can't just leave me like this. What will I tell my family? Her tears were real, but so was my realization. If I stayed, I wouldn't just be her boyfriend or husband. I'd be her ticket, her safety net, her family's future. And I wasn't ready to carry all of that on my shoulders. I left her house that night with her voice echoing in my ears, the sound of desperation that still haunts me sometimes. Weeks after, I got messages from her cousins, even her mother. How could you abandon her? She gave you everything. She's innocent. She waited for you. Now you've ruined her life. But the truth was, I hadn't ruined anything. I had only refused to be trapped in a life I didn't choose. Looking back, I realized this. Dating a 20-year-old virgin in the Philippines isn't the fantasy some men think it is. Yes, the innocence feels refreshing. Yes, being someone's first love feels powerful. But hidden beneath it all is something far more dangerous. Dependence. When you date someone that young, inexperienced, and desperate, you're not just dating them. You're dating their entire family's expectations, and in a country like the Philippines, their financial struggles follows, and their dreams of a better life. And in the end, you're not their boyfriend. You're their lifeline. So here's the truth I learned the hard way. Don't get fooled by youthful innocence. Sometimes a virgin doesn't mean purity. Sometimes it means pressure. And if you're not careful, that innocence can become the most dangerous trap of all. So here's the truth I learned the hard way. Don't get fooled by youthful innocence. Sometimes a virgin doesn't mean purity. Sometimes it means pressure. And if you're not careful, that innocence can become the most dangerous trap of all. That's all from me. Hope more people can hear my story.
Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon for more amazing content.